All right, we are back with a little impromptu look at these wheels and tires. I was not expecting to do a video on these, but once I got them, I realized, man, these are pretty decent, or at least I think they're going to be decent. So what these are the Globact 1.2 tires. So I got them on Amazon for like 35 bucks. Came with the wheels and tires, and it came with some brass hexes, like some wider hexes and some little tiny barrel nuts for the wider hexes. And it obviously came with the hardware and an Allen wrench. But I bought these primarily because I was having a lot of trouble getting these DJ crawler tires to stay on their bead. So I was like, okay, well, let me bump up to a 1.2 wheel, see if I can sneak that in here, and maybe they'll stay on. And they do. They just look awful. So when I got these, I picked them up and I was like, man, these are kind of sticky. They got that like Trepador style tread pattern, but what's interesting about them is the lugs are different heights. It's hard to see, but like it goes high, low, high, low, high, low, so on and so forth. So that's kind of neat. Something I don't really see. I don't know if it's a pro or a con, but it is interesting. So on the sidewall, it says 62 by 24 R 1.2. They measure out closer to a 60, but if you compare them to a Scrambler on RC four-wheel drive Steely or Enduro Steely, whichever one this is, they're actually a hair taller than the Scrambler, and they're a little bit wider too. So the larger wheel is a little deceiving because it makes it look like the tire's smaller, but in reality, I mean, look at the difference there. Actually, let's get the wheel out of the tire. Show you what we're working with here. So if you compare it to, here's the DJ Crawler. I mean, look at the opening for the wheel. It's substantial. The reason I was so impressed out the gate is if you take the DJ Crawler, which is a very soft and very sticky tire, and you do the old squeeze test, right? And you take this one here. I mean, it's not exactly the same, but it's stickier than I thought it would be. And it definitely feels it on the tread. So I think that's a promising thing. I also like that with the taller wheel, the sidewall is a little smaller, so you don't have as much of that sidewall like flex that you do with a true 1.0. So it may not need an insert other than the regular foam that it comes with. Speaking of foam, this is what it comes with right here. Medium density, I would call it. Okay, definitely a larger opening in the center because obviously the ring is a lot larger. So if we were to compare it to like an Endura 1.0 brass ring, that's what you're looking at. I mean, it's obviously substantial. So I'll move these out of the way here. I did set up 3 of the 4 onto this truck. They look great. They fit great. I vented them at like 12 o'clock and 6 o'clock. So they're on. The wheel and tire fit together extremely well. There's no fighting it when you put it together. It's got 6 screws on the back side. So very simple, very plain. The other thing I like about it is I'm running the FCX portals, and the wheel gets really close to the portal without touching. It may actually even be touching in some spots depending, but it tucks it in, and that FCX axle is pretty wide, so I'm glad that it's able to really tuck it in there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to finish assembling this wheel. Actually, before I do that, let me weigh it. So let's get this scale out that I stole from my wife's kitchen. So there's the wheel combination, 23 grams without hardware. With the tire and with the foam, 36 grams. What I plan on doing is wrapping some of these golf weights around that aluminum inner ring. So I did 3 of them on the back wheel, and I did 5 of them on the front wheel. So it's a pretty heavy combination, and the 3 weights are 9 grams. Okay, so 3 grams a piece. So I did 9 grams here and 15 grams on the front. So I'm going to wrap this, and then I'm going to put the wheel together, and we're going to go do some testing with it, I think. Oh, one more thing. For those of you that have had problems with these DJ crawler tires, and it's not just this one, where you can't get the bead to seat. Like my brother had no problem. I've seen guys online that have had problems. What I ended up doing is picking up the stock plastic TRX4M wheels, because they're like a 1.0 plus size, and it seems pretty good. So if you get a 1.0 plus size wheel, I think it'll be okay. I picked up these because I just wanted to test it, and they were like $7 for a pair or something like that. Either way, actually looks pretty decent. You can add the same kind of weights to this. I'm not going to test these today. I'm just going to test those 1.2s because I'm pretty pumped about it. So let me get this all together, and we'll go test it out. All right, real quick, I just wanted to show you how well these fit together. The bead is pretty thick this way, but there's not a lot of lip here, but the wheel pretty much falls right in. Boom. Take the back, line it up as close as you can to the corresponding holes. I mean, it really can't get easier than that. So pretty great. They do come in a bunch of different colors: red, green, yellow, this, maybe a gray and a silver, or maybe just a gray, maybe not a silver. They were like $35 on Amazon, and I know you can get them for like $25 on AliExpress. And there's also another tire I have not tried, but there's another tire you can try also. And I think even like the Muse, whatever it is, racing, there's even a version very similar. You know you got the right ones because the tire says crawler tires on it right there. So yeah, right on. So a little bit of information on the truck while we're watching it go over the rocks. It's an Endura carbon fiber LCG chassis. It uses the JEC flat Delrin skid, so it has plenty of belly clearance. FCX portals with some brass on them, and it's got the overdrive portal gears in the front. It's using a Mofo Black Label 2 in the front for the servo, and then just an Emax in the rear, which hopefully I'll upgrade in the future. I really like that Mofo servo. It's got an Endura red motor, the 60 turn, I believe it's 60 turn, and that's on a what's being called a 2-speed SCX 24 transmission, which it's not really 2 speeds, right? It's an overdrive and an underdrive. And there's a little misconception about that because that transmission isn't actually overdriven, it's underdriven. So it's still using stock ratio to the front, and it slows down the rear drive. So a lot of people call it overdrive, but it's not actually overdriven in the front, it's underdriven in the rear. It's got some oil-filled shocks. I forget what they're from. And then it's using a Hobbywing 1080 G2 ESC from a 10th scale truck. And I really like that because I can program it. It fits. It's not that heavy. Has plenty of amperage for both servos, which I think is great. And all that is being controlled by an RC4GS radio and their little tiny 4-channel receiver that sits in the back. You can see it in some of the video. It's got Endura links, Endura drive shafts, pretty cheap all around, and it weighs in at about 530 grams. So it's not light, but it could be heavier. The truck was built to be an unlimited class truck, so at the local hobby shop they run stock, mod, and unlimited, and because this is 4-wheel steer, it's automatically an unlimited, and I like it that way. I think it's pretty fun. I have a bunch of other trucks in various states of modification, and this one's by far the most hardcore. I don't have anything that's brushless. This is brushed. I like it brushed, but low speed control does suffer because of it, unfortunately. All right, so after playing with them for a little while, I think it's a pretty decent tire. At no point was I wishing for more traction. If anything, there was enough grip and bind in some scenarios that I was stalling out that motor. Obviously, it's a brushed motor. It doesn't have all the power in the world. But grip-wise, there was never a point where I was like, man, I wish I had more grip. The rocks that it ran on, they can be pretty grippy, but also a lot of them have dirt, so it'll spin. Overall, I was very impressed with that tire. I don't see myself taking that tire off anytime soon. I like the grip. I like the sidewall support because the sidewall is obviously much smaller, like we said, than a 1.0 sidewall. So I never felt like the tire was like trying to fold over, which is great because it saves me from having to buy inserts or find inserts for 1.2. Hopefully 1.2s grow to be a little more popular and we get a little bit more tire options out of it. But overall, definitely very, very happy with it. I'm going to continue to run some batteries through here and just see how they progress. But even when they got, you know, a little wet or a little muddy, I still didn't really lose traction anywhere. So I think it's definitely worth it. I think it's worth picking up the other tire that comes on the same wheel to see if the compound is similar, or see if the traction is similar. So yeah, pretty happy with it. I'm going to continue to run it. So that's that. Thanks for hanging out. Thanks for watching the video, and I'll see you on the next one.